Hey, hey, hey. Man, oh man, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Man, a tree fell down a couple of weeks ago. We got this gentleman in the neighborhood who came by and asked if it was okay for him to get the wood. And I had him cut some firewood for me. So that has definitely been working out. I got some wood together. I've been thinking about doing a fire pit. You would think I wouldn't want to, as these hot flashes keep hitting my behind. Why would I want to be in front of a fire, right? But I like to be outside in nature with the mosquitoes. Oh my goodness. Mm-mm-mm. And I said that as I pull my fan out right now, because this something just ain't right. This is just so wrong. The stages of life that are happening. I keep talking about these damn hot flashes, and Bobby, you know nothing about this at all. But I remember being younger and people being
I
like, oh my
do.
God, just all of a sudden get soaking wet. Now I'm glad I don't have that version of the hot flash, but
I mean,
it's
it,
like a
it
spectator. You're looking at them
it's
like,
happening in my household. So even though I'm not
okay.
personally experiences the effects of it, I am. So that's all I can say.
It's violent, Lord. It's violent. It's hot. Get the covers off me. Put the covers
It's
back
always
on.
very cold in the house. I lost so much weight that my body thermostat is broken now. I
Yeah.
used to never get cold. I used to check in a hotel and put it on 60. Now I'm always cold, even though I'm still very fat, but my body's not used to being this small. So now I'm always cold.
Oh my
She's
God.
always hot. It's the
Yeah,
opposite. It used to be the other way around. So
yeah.
you just
Man,
adjust.
as we're continuing to live and love and exist in life, man, so many changes and things are happening for sure. All we doing is trying to prepare and not be a nuisance, Lord, because I know how crazy that could be. All of a sudden, you sitting next to somebody and they're like, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm cold. All right, all right. Well, thank you, everybody in YouTube University land. I am Makeba Evans, global real estate professional, the brokerage that I call home and allows me to call it home is eXp Realty. So I have relationships all over the globe. Right now, I have a young lady in California. I have a young lady in Colorado. They're in the room with us. So the reach of individuals that I have in my cipher, in my sphere to help change their life with real estate is vast. So all 50 states, several countries, I am the person to reach out to connect you and help you build your wealth with real estate. And I am blessed today to have a lender partner, mortgage professional, somebody who's been in these real estate streets for a long time. I'll let him briefly introduce himself today, but we are talking about how we are going to help you build your legacy with the wealth and real estate because we know how important it is, of course, to have your primary residence. But for those people who are interested in learning how to get their first investment property, now it's time for you to get your fifth one. You moving on to commercial, whatever it is that you want to do. This is a gentleman that we want to have the conversation with. Bobby, please briefly introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you, Makeba. My name is Bobby Afrasiabi. I'm the founder and owner of the Loan Pros Group. We are mortgage brokers. We help homeowners and home buyers in almost 40 states, but most importantly, investors in all 50 states, both for the residential and commercial needs. And that does include everything from purchase, refinance, bridge loans, rehab, and full construction loans. Pretty much A to Z when it comes to mortgage, but with a very big focus on investors, whether new or seasoned. We literally work with first time fix and flippers. And I'm currently working with a construction firm to build a $120 million hotel in Puerto Rico. So just to give you the range is pretty much if it falls in that range, we could probably help somebody.
Oh, I'm sure it's gonna fall in that range. Look, oh, Puerto Rico. Okay, okay. I was just out in
Right?
Puerto Rico look, when it's earlier this year, my first time there, very, very beautiful place. One of those spaces that the US has called a territory. This is mine. Bam, they put a stamp on it, so
I'm gonna
very,
find an excuse to go inspect the property myself. I'm gonna just make
yes.
it. I'm not needed, but I'm gonna make it seem like they need me out there. See if they could pay for my way. We'll see.
Of course, of course. We're gonna work that out for sure. Well, Bobby, like you shared, it's a vast array of people, individuals, companies, partnerships that you can assist as they're looking to become an investor. So give me a little bit about what a first-time investor could do to finance a property. This is their first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So first-time investors, pretty much the strategies I mentioned would apply to a first timer. There was a time not long ago where some of these options would be limited to a first timer. For example, a ground up construction as a first timer, they just unfortunately wouldn't allow you. They would need you to be on some other projects with maybe with a partner and use that track record or experience to qualify. But the last couple of years, they've loosened that up. So now we could call it a purchase or a fix and flip or a ground up of either residential or commercial. You are allowed to be a first timer. The easiest way I can break it down is the fact that it's the only space, construction and fix and flip is the only space where you will actually get better terms due to your experience level that you can document. And experience level always means if you've done it before, not as a contractor. Some people come, they've already built 20 houses as a contractor, but they were never on the title. They were never the owner of those. Believe it or not, their experience is considered zero. But you could be someone that's done two of these and you already have more experience than a quote unquote an actual builder or contractor. So since you're a first timer, you obviously don't have that. I always say your first deal will be your worst deal, meaning if you can manage, what's required on your first one when it comes to the initial investment out of your pocket, your second deal will automatically be better terms, and each one that you add to your tiers will be better and better terms. That's on the rental, the fix and flip, the BRRRR method, which we'll get into, and the construction. But if you just want to acquire a turnkey, ready to go investment property, then as a first timer, whether you're a first timer or a veteran, it's the same thing. All that matters is your credit score, the property itself, how it's cash flowing already, and what you have available as far as the money that you can bring in at closing. So good, both sides. There's no perfect scenario as your first time to get in. Of course, if you know the areas that will bring in value, if you do it as a fix and flip with the BRRRR method, you're always going to get the most bang for your buck. And now a lot of areas, let's say Metro Atlanta, that's kind of over flooded. People are either going outside those main areas or they're just doing the ground up construction because you can still get better value on the land itself than at this point find something with value if you're going to do a fix up.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Definitely. And those investors, by all means, like Bobby was mentioning, having somebody else connected with you, even though you may not need them in that financial aspect because of the programs that Bobby has available to you, but you're going to want a mentor, somebody to lean on and share their experience with you. So whether you're having to create some sort of partnership to do that, that is definitely the best option versus just jumping out willy-nilly and just trying to figure it out because you saw something on HGTV. Definitely.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you guys a quick example. I have a client, he's a retired Super Bowl winning NFL player, done about 20 fix and flips before he met me about a year and a half. And he was introduced to me. They told him, hey, Bobby's the best. And, we discussed about 8 properties. And he said, well, I go directly to the lenders and get these loans. Why do I need to pay you a broker fee, basically? I said, you have a point. I'm not a lender, but I get to shop around for you and find the right lender that might give you better terms because only a handful of them go consumer direct. 90% of the good lenders are actually only work through brokers such as me. he didn't see a value in speaking to me, and he went ahead and you guys will know the name of the lenders if I name the lenders, but I don't want to badmouth those lenders in this junction. Called me about 6 months ago, after a year, and he's basically getting all the properties foreclosed on now. What happened is they didn't hold him accountable to the budget, so he was working off of the wrong budget. They had all the wrong ARVs, after renovation values. So he actually, when he appraised them now to get out of these short-term bridge loans, none of them appraised not even close to what the ARV could have been, actually less than what he purchased the properties for. This is a guy with experience, done 20 of these, and he called me to save the day. And I am little in the process of fighting his foreclosures. I call his lenders every day to buy him more time, try to figure out how to undo kind of the mistake. And as you mentioned, Makeba, if he knew what he was doing, how did he get in trouble? It's just that they're not looking out for your best welfare. What I do is I work with my clients to make sure their budget is realistic, to make sure that they're not overspending in an area that doesn't need overspending. Sometimes people try to turn these into luxury homes in areas that are not even up and coming or might be flat. And what they're adding is only a value if they were going to move into the property themselves. As you know, they're trying to get too cute on something that's just a business. It's supposed to be cash flowing if you're going to hold on to it, or it's supposed to turn around and put money in your pocket when you sell it. Let's say if you don't want to do the BRRRR method, and they get in trouble, and then in the back end is, unfortunately, that's the dark side, because then you have to deal with a short-term bridge loan, and if you cannot find comparable sales in your appraisal, that's when you get stuck in a bad note. So, not to toot my own horn, but it's more about just closing a deal. It's about making sure the deal makes sense before you close it. So 6 months, a year down the line, your game plan is actually a realistic one.
Yeah, that exit strategy. How are we going to get out of this? Definitely, for sure. So, Bobby, speak to us about the DSCR loan.
Absolutely. DSCR stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. It's the only program that literally explains how you qualify, right? If you were in a VA loan, they would call it, your pay stubs and your pension from the VA and your DD 214. This literally tells you what qualifies you, the debt service coverage ratio. Basically, what it means is whether you're self-employed or not, they're not asking you at all about your income on these programs whatsoever. You never have to produce a single W-2, pay stub, tax return, so on and so forth. They're assuming that you got your life figured out outside of this property. They're giving you respect, like, hey, we're not going to ask you about how you survive on the daily, because your credit score is going to tell that story. We're just going to concentrate on the asset itself. So the property that you're purchasing has a rental value. Either it already has a tenant or it has an incoming tenant. If it has a tenant, there's already a lease agreement. You're either keeping them on that rental, or you're upgrading. If the market demands it, you might even increase the rents. If you have an incoming tenant, then they'll accept your new lease agreement, or the appraiser will do a market rental study to see how much the average rents are. So they'll take that monthly rental amount, and they'll just compare it to your new mortgage payment on that property. And the formula is just basically principal plus interest plus property taxes plus homeowners insurance plus homeowners association, if it applies. And then they compare it to your rental. I'm gonna make it very simple. If your rents are equal or more by $1, then that payment, you already qualify for this program. You literally, that's all you had to do to qualify, income-wise. It's the income from the property. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, number one, the down payment itself that you bring in is determined by your credit score. This is an area where the credit score is important, because remember, they didn't ask you how you earn your income. So this is the part where now they're going to look at your credit report. If you're the kind of person that has had a lot of late payments, especially in the last year or two, whether it be on a mortgage, which is the worst sin in their eyes because they're lending you on a mortgage. They'd like to see a clean mortgage history if you have your own primary home or other investment properties. They'll also look at some delinquencies if they're frequent on your credit cards, so on and so forth. They get the idea that maybe the income that they didn't ask about might be a little shaky, that maybe you are surviving month to month. And when you have the bad months, then you have to make some tough decisions on those debts. Um, I had a client yesterday told me he has great credit and wanted to do a fix and flip. He has a 650. That's actually considered not that good for this space, the SCR. Can it get done? Sure. Most lenders will tell you need at least a 680 for this program. Some will tell you at least a 660. In reality, I have a few that go down to 600. I guarantee you the one thing that will change with those scores being in the 600 mid 600s is the down payment itself. So this program, typically the ground floor is 15% down payment.
Okay.
But you might as well have a 700 plus credit score to even ask about the 15% option.
Okay.
And the rate's not going to always be the best with 15% down. Even if you have an 800 credit score, they're going to kind of, increase that rate on you a little bit because they're kind of, again, taking a risk on you by not asking you about your income. They're really hoping that this property works out for you. So because of that, they'll charge you a little premium on your rate. But the standard for this program is 20%. As long as you do the math and you have the 20% on any property that you're looking at, then you should be good to go. There are some additional requirements. Remember, you're going to have your closing costs, your escrows, for taxes and insurance. Now, you don't have to escrow the payment as part of your monthly payment, but they still want to, make sure that they at least collect the first year of homeowners insurance, hopefully, 3 to 6 months of property taxes. But because they're not asking you about your income, the extra additional thing they add is 6 months of your payment in reserves. Okay. Doesn't have to be cash in your bank account. It could be in a retirement account. It could be in an investment account. You just have to have that 6 months of payment. So if your new payment is $2,100 a month, including tax and insurance, 2,100 times 6, you want to have that. If you have those and the credit score and you have the rents, you're guaranteed to get that property. Nobody's going to get in the way of you getting that property. Oh, each company has slightly different guidelines. I don't want to make everything sound perfect, but that's where you are. Now, I'm sure the follow-up question would be, well, what if the property looks amazing, but that rental is not going to be quite there to cover it? Again, most lenders will tell you then you're not going to qualify. A lot of lenders have gotten to this DSCR game the last couple of years. Business is still slow for them on the residential side. Rates are not helping them. They're trying to dabble in something that guys like me are expert at, that I've been doing for like almost a decade. Now everybody's advertising it, but they're bad at it. So they'll tell you if the rent is not more than the payment, you don't qualify. It's absolutely wrong. You have programs where you could be upside down by 25% on the rents and still qualify. There's also a no ratio available, which literally even gets rid of that one last layer of looking at the rents. Of course, what's the caveat on that is you have to bring a little higher down payment and the interest rate's going to take a big hit. But if that property makes sense, if in the long term, that the market rents are going to go up and you basically got a diamond in the rough and you don't want anyone getting in the way of your dreams, there is a no ratio version available that will allow you to still get into that property. I'm sorry, Makeba, did you want to ask any questions before I move to the last part of it?
Oh, no, you're good. Thank you.
Okay. The one thing these loans come with, they come built in with a prepayment penalty. And as you guys know, prepayment penalties used to be on even primary homes. That's what really caused a lot of people to lose their homes in 2008 and 2009. The prepayment penalties were stopping them from making certain moves, and by the time they wanted to, it was too late. So there's no more prepayment penalties on primary homes. On these investment properties using these programs, it comes in the best pricing, which means the best interest rates, typically comes with a 3 to 5 year prepayment penalty. It's not the end of the world. I'll tell you guys, it's usually one or the other. It's either 6 months of interest payments, or it's 5% of your principal balance. And all that means is if you have a 3-year prepay penalty and in year 1 or 2, you decide to either refinance the home to lower your interest rate or pull some equity out, or sell the property because when these interest rates go up, property values are going to interest rates go down, property values are going to go up. They're going to, in some areas, go up by 30-40% just because of the low rates. If you're tempted to sell it, on top of your payoff, you'll either pay 6 months of interest, 5% of the principal balance. And I always tell people, if by that point you're even considering it, it's probably worth whatever prepay that you pay. You do have the option of buying down your prepay when you initially purchase the property. Each year that you deduct from the preset prepay will either cost you extra in cost of the loan and or a little higher interest rate. I tell people don't buy it down. You really don't know if for sure you're going to sell it or refinance it in a year or two. So why spend the extra money up front? Some people listen to me and some don't. But that pretty much takes care of like 90% of what a DSCR is, the requirements for it. You could go up to as many units as you want. For the best pricing, you want to stay within 1 to 4, because once you go above 4, the list of lenders that do these drops from hundreds to a few dozen. And each time you add, and once you go past 8 or 9 units, it just becomes a commercial DSCR, which we do offer, but now you got to come in with more down payment, typically 25%, 30% down. The rules change, the rates are higher. If you keep it to 1 to 4, you always have reasonable rates. And if anybody kind of is wondering what the rates are, it's not a set rate, but let's say whatever your credit score today is, if you were to just buy an investment property going full documents, using your tax returns, your full income, whatever the rate will be for you today on a DSCR, it's only going to be 0.5% higher, basically, give or take. That's about the difference. It's not huge. So you're not taking a big hit by going with this program and not using your full tax returns because you already know your income's not going to support it. This is the way to bypass all that and not pay a huge premium on your interest rate, and either get in the game if this is your first one, or if you already have 1 or 2 of these and it's been a while. Hopefully, what I discussed kind of helps you figure out what to do next on this program.
Definitely. I mean, clearly, you know exactly what it is that you're speaking about. The storytelling is so helpful for people to be able to visualize themselves in this could be something that they could do. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise in that fashion. And before we go, you did mention the BRRRR strategy: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Can you share what that strategy would look like for investors that want to finance and use that strategy?
Absolutely. What it really does, it just combines 2 programs. The first stage, you're going to do the fix and flip loans, the rehab loans. People use different words for it, but it's the same thing. And then you convert it when you're done with your renovation, you convert it into this DSCR loan. So you're combining 2 programs to make them into one. On the DSCR, you're doing it as a refinance because you've already used the purchase on the rehab loan. When you refinance out of that short-term rehab loan, then based on the value that you added, you'll be able to take a good portion of the money that you initially brought in. You could take it out in the form of a cash out, because this DSCR program does allow you to either do a rate and term refinance. A rate and term means the equity you've added, you kind of don't want to touch it yet. You want it to stay in the property because you want a very manageable cash flow opportunity on this property you just completed, right? You want to put a tenant in. You say, well, I could take out this extra 20K that I initially put in, but my payment's going to be higher, right? Because the 20K is part of your new loan amount. And now my property's not going to cash flow. I'd rather see 700 a month profit out of this thing than 400, and just not touch this extra equity that I got. You'll always be able later to either refinance out of that or get a home equity line, which we offer all forms of home equity lines, from full doc to no doc, and we can always discuss that later.
Mhm.
Or you could just say, no, I actually want to be aggressive. I do want to take all that money out. I know I'm going to hurt a little bit of the cash flow on my rental, but because I'm literally going to take that money and put it into the next BRRRR opportunity, that's the whole point of the name, right? Repeat is the last R.
Yeah.
So if you don't take out enough and you don't have any money yourself left over, then you can't do the repeat portion. But remember, these are all personal choices. You can customize this method to what works the best for you and what you're most comfortable. If you've never been a landlord before and you want to give it a year of collecting rents just to see what the incidental costs are, your write-offs, you better have a good accountant when you start doing this, because the write-offs are incredible. I have friends that have done this hundreds of times, and they actually write off as much as they can the first few years to have complete losses on paper, and they actually flip the properties because they've exhausted all the write-offs, all the depreciation. They rather buy the next property. These are guys that manage 40, 50 property portfolios and show hundreds of thousands in loss annually, because once they've completely exceeded any write-offs, they just sell the property and buy a new one and start the write-offs again. I'm not giving tax advice. I just hope you guys
Right.
understand that. But just kind of, I work with a lot of experienced people, so I always I don't gatekeep kind of what they do. So you might want to just try this and then decide if you want to get into the next one, or if you're aggressive, if you're seasoned, you've done this before, it's not your first rodeo. You're always going to pull out as much cash as you can back out of the property, and know that with the write-offs, it is actually going to be profitable as far as the income is concerned, and you're already on to the next property. I have a gentleman in Chicago. In the last 5 years, he's done 400 fix and flips, and that's his strategy. He has a team. He started just doing it himself. Now he has a team. They find opportunities. Everybody got their own job. They're like a machine. They just call me and say, 3 more just went into contract, Bobby. Best terms, right? Give me the best terms. And when it's time for the DSCRs, who gives us the most money? Now, some lenders are limited on the cash they can give you without seasoning. And seasoning means how many months since you purchased the house are you trying to pull out this new equity that you've added? Because this is my bread and butter, I have to make sure that I have on the DSCR side, the lenders that will let them max out on the cash out with no seasoning, meaning one day after you buy the house, if you added $100,000 value to the house, you can pull out the portion that's allowable, which is usually 70 to 80% of the new appraised value is typically what you can pull back out, depending on the lender, your credit score, a couple of factors, but 70 to 80% of the new value is typically what your new loan amount can be with the cash going back to you.
Mm. Man, my ears are overflowing with information, and I'm sure our viewers are too. I mean, gosh, you broke down how the first-time investors can get out in these real estate streets and make this part of their strategy for retirement or their legacy or whatever those may look like for those individuals. That DSCR loan product, breaking that down and peeling back those layers, and of course that BRRRR strategy. So important to know that it's not just one way to do it. Speaking to a professional like yourself, Bobby, with years of experience, having that conversation, for you being able to ask the proper questions to see what that journey is going to look like for that individual is so powerful and important. And Bobby, before we go, we value your time, of course. I'm going to put all of the pertinent information, how to call you, beep you, if they want to reach you, in the description. But if you can just go ahead and say it out loud for those who are watching us on replay, how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm always reachable. I think Makeba knows, she's seen me even on a business trip at night at the dinner table. I work 7 days a week and I answer my phone about 20 hours a day, basically. So I'm never too busy for a new client, referral, or just a question. I owe everybody a free 15-minute consultation phone call. That's the part that I can offer. So my phone number, this is the real number, this is the one that's in my hand as we speak. It's 949-485-1561. You can also email me, Bobby at theloanprosgroup.com. That's Bobby at theloanprosgroup.com. You can visit theloanprosgroup.com online. And if you just want to find me on social media, you just look for Bobby the Loan Pro on Instagram and on Facebook, you'll find me. I typically will answer text messages before phone calls. As you guys know, these days, 80% of phone numbers you don't know are some sort of spam.
Yeah.
So in order to be able to stay organized, I just look at the text. I do respond to them right away. So love to hear from anybody that has any initial questions. Just mention that where you saw me. That way I can give you guys the proper attention you deserve.
Well, Bobby, I want to thank you. I know we've known each other for several years, and this YouTube journey of mine, the Lenders Lounge, is something that I'm so happy that you agreed to be a part of. Your energy is wonderful. You know, while we're out here working, we don't want it to be cumbersome and feel like there's walls against us. We want to be with people who feel and understand us and our energy. And I'm just so thankful to have you in my sphere of people who get me, because I get you too.
That. I'd love to come back and discuss the fix and flips because I think that's going to be the starting point for most people. And if I have any parting message for anybody, I promise you, if you get the credit and your assets straight, literally no one can say no to you on the lending side. So whatever it takes, if you got to work with a credit repair specialist, we have several that we work with, the short-term plan, long-term plan. The credit will stop you from getting in the property that's going to really give you that long-term income. I see it every day, and people think that sometimes just their experience level will get it done or the resume. But if you get that credit score and your assets situated, it's an unlimited opportunity to make money in this space. They've made it too easy. Sometimes I think they're going to just take it all away one day because it's a little too easy if you have those two things, and take advantage of it while you can.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Very powerful. For those of you watching in YouTube University, please like it, share it, subscribe, and we will see you next time.